uh, is that the only knowledge system that we can talk of as Indian knowledge systems is only the textual tradition, is the main misunderstanding that we have. We have lost a lot of textual traditions as well as oral traditions. So coming to why we call it as systems, the more insightful explanation would be that this is an interdependent set of branches um, where it tries to take a holistic view. So for example, if you take Ayurveda, so most of you hope you know what Ayurveda is, at least you might have heard about it. But traditionally speaking, long time back, maybe at least 100 or 200 years back, when we talk of Ayurveda, a person who used to be an Ayurvedic Vaidya or a doctor had to also study Samudraka. Samudraka Shastra is a Shastra where you look at the physical characteristics of a person, like the shape of the nose, the shape of the eyes, eyebrows, so on and so forth, and try to predict his mental and physical characteristics. So that is Samudraka Shastra. So a person who used to practice Ayurveda was supposed to know even Samudraka Shastra and also Jyotish. So when I talk of Jyotish, it is both the theoretical astronomy as well as prediction based Jyotish. And then there is another Swara Shastra. So this is the science of breath. When we take breath, most of the times, unless it is the Sandhya Kala, or Sandhya Kala is basically around 12 a.m. in the afternoon and midnight, and also early morning and early evening. So these are called as Sandhya Kalas. So usually if you observe the flow of the breath, it will be through both the nostrils during these times. And apart from these times, you will see that predominantly there will be a majority flow in one of the nostrils, and it will keep on switching in between the nostrils. So how the breath is taking place in these two nostrils gives an indication of how healthy that person is. It also has some predictive part to it. Then there is another Shastra, which is the Nimitta Shastra. So that is the science of omens. And the Nadi Shastra is basically the science of pulse, Ayurvedic pulse. It's not the English pulse. And Darshanas refer to philosophy. So if you think of just Ayurveda today, no one probably knows all these things. Maybe he might have heard of Nadi Shastra to some extent, maybe the remaining things. It's very rare to find a person who practices all these things. So this is the real picture of Indian knowledge systems. So where different branches of knowledge are intertwined, and each of them help the other. Okay, so this was one example. Then coming to even arts. So if you take classical dance, most of you might have this idea that classical dance and music are tightly related. But the remaining part of the story that we don't actually appreciate is that it is also related to Puranas, grammar, and Alankara, that is rhetorics. And of course, it's also related to yoga and Tantra and philosophy. So these are just two examples to show that our systems of knowledge are not sort of myopic. Okay? So coming to key characteristics of our Indian knowledge systems, it is more or less holistic in nature. So you find mentions of one Shastra in the other texts. Similarly, it captures subjectivity and objectivity. So the problem with today's science is it doesn't capture subjectivity into the picture. So it's the same pill for every person, right? But every person's physical and mental constitution is different. So you need to have a sort of a personalized, maybe roughly personalized system of medicine, or maybe prescription, or it can also be a spiritual path, right? So our knowledge systems capture the subjectivity and objectivity hand in hand. So that is one of the important characteristics which is missing currently in the Western sciences and technology. Third very important point, which is of concern today, is sustainability, which is inbuilt in our Shastras. So sustainability, in our terms, it is dharma. Dharma is wrongly translated as religion. So religion is proper translation in Sanskrit is mata. Okay? So if you see today's technology or science, we are blindly running behind, let us say, AI or quantum computing without even knowing the risks behind these systems. And engineering wise, we are not ready. There's a very recent talk by um, Yoshua Bengio, someone who is called as the father of AI, one of the fathers of AI, the other two being Jan LeCun and Jeffrey Hinton. So Jeffrey Hinton, probably last year, he just left Google just thinking about the threat that AI can cause. Of course, there are advantages, but there are also disadvantages. And technologically, we are not ready to handle these things. Okay. So sustainability is very important. So since I mentioned Jyotish Shastra, most of you might think that, okay, all these things are like superstition or it is mumbo jumbo sort of, or maybe a pseudoscience. So here is a recent AI model whose name is Life to Well. So you can Google it and get videos and information about this model. So what they have done is they have captured life events of lakhs of people. Okay, so this was a Denmark-based company. So they have captured the life events of many people. And then they are trying to predict the death. And they claim that with 79% accuracy, they are able to predict the death of the person. So this is nothing but data science or artificial intelligence, which in other words is trying to give you a hint or sort of a indirect proof for thing like Jyotisha to work, right? So I'll not get into this. You can see this on YouTube also. So let us look into the problems that we are facing or the problems that we are about to face in the near future. Most of them you might be knowing, or you can just think about these things. And if you try to analyze the root cause for all these problems, it is the following. So you have ignorance and lack of knowledge about the interconnection between the inner world and external world under the influence of so-called scientific advancement and technological development. So if I were to properly paraphrase this in another way, most of the scientific or technological advancement that we have been seeing is basically to feed the pockets of a capitalist. So it is highly capitalist driven society that we are living in today, rather than an ideal sustainable environment. So why is this the case? It's because we don't really see how things are correlated or interrelated, and how a small mistake in one of the fields of knowledge can trigger a series of mistakes in or blunders in other facets of life also. So this thing of sustainability or dharma is absent in our current endeavors in technology and science. Right. So, I'll just talk a little bit more about this, since I gave an example of Natya Shastra or dance and music, and then the next item was psychology. So if you go back to Bharata's Natya Shastra, which is the celebrated text on Indian dance and music and also rhetorics. So he tries to, he gives a rule, set of rules, where he says that you should not show bedroom scenes on the stage. You should not show the scenes where someone is killed on the screen, right? So this shows that how they also thought about psychological effects of seeing or perceiving things which can, in a longer duration of time or maybe in a longer stretch of time, can lead to a lot of social and behavioral problems. We are coming up with a lot of behavioral problems nowadays, especially in the Gen Z. It also includes us, because most of us spend scrolling a lot of videos on or reels on WhatsApp or any other social media, and we don't know how it is affecting our perception capabilities and even behavioral traits. So you see these traces of sustainability or holistic understanding of every facet of life in our Shastras, which is actually missing in our current day technology. So let's just try to understand um, the difference between Indian thinking and Western thinking. So ours is more comprehensive, and the basic uh, um baseline and our understanding of different branches of knowledge is that the entire universe is connected, right? So if you do something here, it is definitely going to cause something, maybe not now, maybe at a different point in time and space, it might cause a havoc. So all our Shastras, may it be building or construction technology, they include these guidelines. And whereas if you take the Western schools, it is more of a reductionist approach. Reductionist approach is you just concentrate only one aspect of an object or field of study. For example, if you consider a flower, right? If you consider a flower, a physicist will give a different sort of analysis about a flower, maybe taking its mass and maybe the trajectory when it is left to fall from a certain height, so on and so forth. And a chemist might give a different perspective, and probably a poet will give a different perspective, a mathematician will give a different perspective. Within mathematicians, maybe persons who are good at geometry, maybe persons who are good at algebra, they might give totally different perspectives. So you see that understanding of any object in our real world, starting from gross objects, tangible objects, to very subtle objects like mind, they are more or less treated in a reductionist way in modern sciences. So you don't worry about how matter interacts with mind, right? So this is what I call as a reductionist approach. So that is why most of the sciences that we see till very recent times, it is highly unconnected. And nowadays we are talking about interdisciplinary research, but still it is in the infancy. Whereas if you go back to our text and see, they have talked about these interconnections between different aspects of life very clearly. Okay, so there will be one question that I'm expecting from you audience, that if our sciences were so holistic, then why not we invent our ancestors invented or discovered quantum technology, so on and so forth. So that's why the next point that I'm trying to talk about says that we were trying to answer relevant questions about life. Since I come from the wireless communication background, if you practically see, 3G or 4G is more than sufficient for all our practical purposes. Unless you want to make a huge fuss of claiming that, hey, I am in a technological era where I can communicate with a very fast moving train using this technology of 5G or 6G. So practically we see that we are simply running behind unnecessary or irrelevant technologies, creating more problems. They are not solving a lot of the problems that we have. In fact, it is actually increasing the number of problems that we have been facing. So our Indian knowledge systems always talk about relevant questions which start from existence or the birth of a person, reasoning, cognition, knowledge and value systems, mind, language, and also including many other modern topics like physics, chemistry, and biology. Whereas the Western thinking, I could term this word scientific superstition. So whenever we talk about these things like Jyotish or maybe Nadi Shastra or Nimitta Shastra, which is the science of omens, people say that it is all superstition, claiming that they are coming from the very highly scientific temperament of mind, right? So, but you see that scientific temperament of mind is not just throwing away something, that saying that it is a superstition without actually experimenting and validating the facts that have been claimed. So this is the scientific sort of superstition that we are carrying nowadays. So if you ask anything about the past life or births and so on and so forth, people just, I mean, so-called scientific people will just put it off, saying that all this is just bullshit or something like which is utterly crap, right? So whereas our knowledge systems, because the questions are apt, it's a right question. There is nothing wrong in asking why are you born poor or maybe rich or maybe with a certain physical characteristics. There is nothing wrong in asking such questions. Just because one doesn't know to answer those questions, you cannot say that such things are totally senseless, right? So our knowledge systems try to peek into these para aspects of life. So our knowledge systems also have a very good idea about the ultimate reality and ultimate cause of universe. In universe is also understood. So you can look into YouTube about Vedanta and quantum sciences. Recently, there is a couple of branches of sciences that are emerging, including something known as biosemiotics, quantum psychology, which are sort of resonating with the ideas of Vedanta, which come from Indian knowledge systems. So these points I think I have covered. One sort of obstacle that I could foresee in understanding Indian thinking or Indian knowledge systems is it requires a lot of contemplation, experimentation, and perseverance, along with reasoning, scientific reasoning, to really validate them, accept them in terms of current day technologies. So I'll just give you a glimpse of how a reductionist approach goes ahead with its flow of thoughts. Okay, so if you think of our medical sciences, until 1948, the definition of health was primarily confined to the physical aspects of the body, right? So once they started getting some sort of correlation in terms of increase of diabetes or blood pressure with the mental aspects, they started redefining the notion of health. And currently, if you see the WHO's definition of health, it also includes intellectual, environmental, and spiritual health. So, whereas this idea has been long been written down in Charaka and Sushruta, that just like 2000 years back, they have written those things, especially this following verse. I would concentrate on the second line, which says that Prasanna Atma Indriya Manaha Swastha Ityabhidhiyate. So, who is called as a healthy person? So, that person who has happiness both in his soul and the Indriyas, that is the senses, and also the mind. So, they have clear distinction between mind, soul, and Atma. So, the beauty about this definition is a person can be very happy by killing a lot of people. That is what is prasanna manaha, right? So he can be very happy in killing a lot of people, but then he will not be prasanna atma, right? Because he has to hide himself, just like Osama bin Laden. Otherwise, he will be finished, right? So he will not be a prasanna atma. At the deepest what you say, depths of his heart, he will be always afraid of what is going to happen to him, right? So he has to keep a lot of security around him to lead his life. So this is the beauty about our definitions, which take care of holistic understanding of the reality. So I'll just pass through these things. Okay. So one other thing that people are not very much aware of is the relation between mind and matter that is given in Dharma Shastras. Whenever we talk of Dharma Shastras, including Manusmriti or so on and so forth, people take one or two verses from here and there in Manusmriti and they call it is a very non-secular text. But there are a lot of mentions of the interactions between mind and matter in Manusmriti. So this is from the West, Dean Radin. So he talks about the double slit experiment. So what has happened is, uh, probably a little bit, you can see it on the internet also. So you have heard of double slit experiment in physics, which gave rise to the quantum sciences. So what he does is he has two groups of people. One is meditators, seasoned meditators. The other one non meditators, and he asked them to concentrate on the flow of electrons or photons, as the case may be. And he sees that the readings at the output of the double slits, they are uh, changing. Okay. So that is the gist of this experiment, which tries to prove that there is a relation between mind and matter. So the implications are much deeper. Unfortunately, since the Westerners are not very much um, educated about Indian Shastras, they are not able to close this gap of mind and matter. So this is one such example. You will get many such examples if you just Google out. Okay? So if you again come back to one of the current challenges in health, right? So you are able to sense that there is some sort of premature aging. Very less people are talking about this, and this is due to the bad lifestyle and okay. Uh, just pardon me because of this word, that imaginary stress I have put. So I feel that stress more real and real. So this was a set of slides that I had made a couple of years back, but now even it looks like more and more real stress. It is imaginary because it's not imaginary, but it is sort of forced. I will tell why it is forced minute. So we see that a lot of our physical, intellectual, and emotional capabilities are reducing. This is not just talking about Gen Z. When I compare myself with my own elders or my gurus, their intellectual capability is far, far better than mine, right? Or our intellectual capabilities. So this is not just about the Gen Z, right? It is true with my generation as well. And coming from the modern medical field, we say avoid smoking and alcohol, try to keep work-life balance, so on and so forth. Most of the things you might not be able to implement in your daily life for multiple reasons. And you see that still the problem is open, right? Whereas long back, we have seen that it is the soul or mind that is the cause for a lot of diseases. And if you try to control mind properly, it can remove a lot of current day problems, including aging and a lot of chronic diseases. So one other important characteristic of our Indian knowledge systems is it is trying to capture the ultimate cause. I'll give an example from physics. So earlier, when it all started in the early 20th century, we started telling that atoms are the cause for molecules, and atoms themselves have further causes like electron, neutron, and they have further subparticles. And then after some time with the quantum, we also started talking about quarks and muons and so on and so forth. Now I think we have some 12 fundamental particles. But again, taking a careful or knowledgeable step, we would say that that is not the end of the story. Maybe because of the limitations of the scientific instruments, sophisticated instruments that we have, we might need more sophisticated instruments to further understand what are the constituents of these quarks or quantum particles, right? So what I want to say is that the current sciences are not complete in a sense, at least in the logical framework, they are not complete. Every time you get a sort of new phenomena which cannot be explained by the current understanding of maybe quantum or classical physics. It can also include biology, psychology, and so on and so forth. So in that way, um, we might not have quantum science quantitative quantum sciences in Indian knowledge systems, but we have a qualitative understanding of these phenomena in a very rough manner, and it tries to capture all the aspects of reality, including the mind and beyond mind. So that is where we have understood what is the ultimate cause. I'll not talk about it because that itself takes a lot of time to understand or logically appreciate it. Right? So here are some of the Indian solutions for our health. So you can use mudras, color or music therapies for lot of our current day problems, including anxiety, stress, and so on and so forth. To some extent, chronic physical illnesses can also be treated with these things. But one sort of precaution that I would suggest is don't try to blindly rely on these things. You need to take modern medication as well as parallelly you have to employ these things so that you are in a safer side. So there are a lot of modern superstitions about diet, right? It's like every day you need to have so many calories, so many grams of protein, so on and so on, so on and so forth. So coming to Ayurveda, we what we prefer is follow the traditional and family-based diet. Of course, if you are in a different region compared to your native, you might have to also include the food items that are very innate to that particular geography. Okay, because nature has not created anything without any logic. So there's a hidden logic which our shastras try to analyze and understand. And coming to mental well-being, it is very important for us to differentiate between life and living. So you have to earn to lead a living, and you have to carve out a passionate path to lead a healthy life. So current day education system, it could be undergrad or maybe primary or secondary or whatever high school education is not giving stress to, or it is not emphasizing these different aspects, right? We talk about moral science, and just by teaching moral science maybe for 1 hour or 2 hours per week, you cannot instill morality or ethics. Okay? So the way it is done in Indian knowledge systems is completely different. Yeah, I'll not talk about it. Maybe if people are interested, I can answer them in the Q&A session. So one other suggestion for a healthy lifestyle, not living, is trying to choose one of the classical arts or fine arts as a passion. It could also include studying philosophy or literature or painting, drawing. I would suggest that you stick to classical arts because there is a hidden science even behind classical dance and music. What that hidden science is will take again long lecture in itself. Maybe in one of the further talks, later talks, I will expand on that. Okay, so now I'll stop. So you can ask any questions if you have. I can expand on the earlier points wherever you have some doubt or you might want some more explanation. Hello.
We are open to take questions. You can unmute yourself and please ask questions.
Hello, sir.
No.
I just have it looks like we are able to listen to your lecture, or we are able to listen to so many traditional things using the modern technology. But we say that traditional is, had the modern technology been not there, I would not have learned about Vedas, or I would not have learned about so many wonderful Gita sessions, pravachan sessions. All are available, more accessible now. Maybe earlier days they might have been this Gurukul system. They might have had a nice guru. But with the technology, we are getting a good guru. So it is not necessary that old is totally gold or new is thing. And what is your opinion about?
Yeah, so definitely I too didn't mean that. So even Kalidasa says that you need not take anything to be great just because it is old, and you need not take anything new and say that it is of no use. So Indian traditions and culture, they have always been molding themselves for the needs of the hour. Yeah, so definitely technology is helping, but the only problem that I wanted to point out is we don't have good policy, or the dharmic perspective or the sustainability is not taken into account, because the entire world is like driven by the capitalists and as we know, politicians. So that aspect is missing compared to our earlier days. Hope I answered your question.
Yes, if it is so rich and our tradition is so rich, what are the translational measures? We say that okay, it is full of this, but how do we translate the traditional knowledge to practice in all fields?
First thing is, I have seen a lot of centers on Indian knowledge systems, their websites and other stuff. As I pointed on the second slide itself, current understanding of Ayurveda or any other traditional practice is not complete. When we compare it with at least the state of art 100 years back, it's not complete. As I told you, an Ayurvedic practitioner will only know about the Ayurvedic texts, maybe some 6 to 8 texts. He will know only about it. He will not worry about how Ayurveda is related to yoga or Tantra or Jyotish, right? So the first step that we have to take is there are very few people who know currently. Maybe we can count them on fingertips. So we have to get that particular, or at least we should get the outline of how to connect these different knowledge systems and how they are interrelated. So it is required to take a very in-depth study rather than just talking about multidisciplinary or interdisciplinary projects where I come from AI and someone comes from Ayurveda. It is very important that people come from different backgrounds, including Jyotish, Ayurveda, and so on and so forth, to reconstruct these knowledge systems in their full-fledged grandeur. So it is very important for us to look back at our history to create history. That is what I would think. That is the first step. Then coming to more and more, what you say, publicizing this knowledge, starting from our primary education, or maybe education that starts at home. So just I'll give you a couple of examples to show where our knowledge systems can help increasing the intellectual capabilities of small children. So when we talk about the first thing that students learn or children learn is alphabets, right? So it is like A, B, C, D, so on and so forth. And if you ask them, or even if I ask you audience, like what is the logic behind B following A or C following B, there is no answer. Even the best of the best English linguists or great English pundits cannot answer this question. But on the other hand, if you take our Barakhadi or whatever we call as our, in Kannada we call it as Kagunita, or our alphabetical system, there is a logic behind why a particular letter comes after a particular letter. So you see that the place of articulation and matter of articulation are taken into account when you put all these letters in an order, like A, E, U, U. So you see that it starts from the throat and it ends with the lips when you start with A, E, and U. Right? Similarly, when you go back to A, I, or O, O, there is again a logic for that. Similarly, you can see the logic behind Ka, Kha, Ga, Gha, Nga, Cha, Cha, Ja, Jha, Nya. So one important thing as public that we have we have to enforce is the way we question our traditional values or systems, we have to mercilessly question modern practices as well. So we don't question them, like we don't question why we have to say B after A, right? So it is only single-sided, or what we call it as doglapam, right? So that we have to live. So this was one example. Similarly, when we talk about health, right? So even till today, there is no study in modern medicine regarding the effect of different tastes. Okay? It could be sweet, bitter, sour, and we have 6 tastes in Ayurveda. 6 primary tastes. You can have a lot of variations within them, right? But we can take 6 primary, and all the remaining will be a combination of these primary tastes. So we can teach all these things like to our children. So this is missing in our curriculum. Why we have to take something which is sweet at the beginning and ending of our meals? So how it is going to improve our health? So those things we are not teaching. So we have to start teaching this. We have to, you might think that it might be a Herculean task to get people who can work from different aspects or from different shastras like Jyotish, Ayurveda, Swara Shastra, so on and so forth. But whatever we can start from the translated texts or well-translated texts we have, we can start teaching them to our students. Nowadays, in many parts of the country, there is a rising movement for homeschooling because our parents, especially from my generation or even previous generation, they are able to see that the modern education is not giving stress to value systems. It is a sort of making you slaves for certain capitalists. So people are looking for these traditional way of schooling their kids along with modern sciences and maths and history. So since I told the word history, even if we go back to our school days and see, our history is just a sort of catalog of different events across different timelines. So we were asked to mug up or somehow memorize when Akbar came to throne and what did he do, when did he do, what all the different battles that he fought. That is the way of, that is the modern perspective of history. And if you ask Western people, they will say that Indians didn't have historical sense or historical awareness. But if you come back to our itihasas or Puranas, they didn't worry about when a person was born, when a person died, what all battles he fought, what all books he has written. It is more of what are the implications of those works on our, or what is the current relevance of those works or those actions or those incidents on our life. This is the way our itihasas or Puranas are built. So again, when we come to Puranas, most of us just throw it away saying that, oh, all this is Purana or again superstition or something like mythology. That's why I said that you have to mercilessly ask. When you look at some movies like Avatar, or which are not realistic, or maybe even cartoons, we don't ask the question, what is the logic behind it, right? All our Tom and Jerry cartoons, they defy or they don't follow the rules of physics or chemistry or mathematics, right? Why? I mean, the major, the basic requirement that you want out of those is entertainment. When you can accept cartoons, right, in your lifestyle, why don't you accept Puranas or Itihasas or Ramayana and Mahabharata and try to get the value or um, um, try to get the real take-home message rather than just thinking, okay, when was Mahabharata written, who wrote it, so on and so forth. Unnecessary things. That's why I said Indians were very good at looking at relevance. What is really relevant, what is not relevant. Yeah, hopefully I think I answered your question, maybe a lengthy answer.
Yes, yes, rightly said. But one more question, if there are no other questions. Dharana
Yes.
Shakti is considered to be a very, very great asset of Indian the generations, as you were mentioning, like previous generation, they used to recite, they used to know so many things. But as it comes to the generations down, we cannot even remember fewer things, maybe because of technological easiness or comfort, then we are using our all other means. How do we improve this dharana shakti, the concept of dharana shakti, to all the people so that they can enrich more about this Indian knowledge system?
Very good. It's a very good question. I'll be covering it in more detail in one of the coming webinars, but I'll give some answers, some pointers to how this can be done and where is the deficit in our current education. So if you go back to our education, we'll have a blackboard, or maybe today we'll have projectors, so on and so forth, where we are trying to train people or trying to educate or teach people using the visual media, right? So it is all visual. Whereas if you consider how our ancestors learned or thought, it was basically the auditory media. Okay, so there are a lot of backgrounds, or I will have to go to philosophy and darshanas and so on and so forth, but I'll try to compress it and try to give the answer. So if you look at medical science, even modern day medicine, medical science, the first sense organ that gets created or gets evolved is the auditory system. Okay, and even the last of the senses which go while a person dies is again auditory system. He might not be able to see certain things, but he will be able to answer by listening to you. So this has been also seen in medical sciences. So our education system more or less stressed on increasing the dharana shakti through auditory media. So there are a lot of implications because of this. Today we see that I have been taking interviews from the past 5 years since I have been into this academia. I see that people are not able to articulate their thoughts. People might comment that you yourself are stammering. How can you talk about articulation? But given some time, I can also articulate my thoughts, or I can write it more specifically, crisply, right? But if you look at the Gen Zs, they are not able to express themselves using better words or more precise words. So this is because most of the times we see something and we think that we have understood. Even the best of the best AI guys, like I forgot his name. His name is Andrea Karpathy. Okay, you can see his YouTube channel. So somewhere there he mentions a quote. So he says that people nowadays look at a lot of videos and they think that they have understood a lot of things, but in reality they have not understood anything. This is because one is the visual way of grasping things, and that sort of puts you in a sort of false understanding that I have really understood. Whereas when it comes through ears, if you go back to our traditional education system, every day a guru used to teach something. Again, no blackboard, everything would be verbal. In the worst case, he would use maybe probably a chalk, or maybe he would use to write on the sand to depict certain figures. But beyond that, it was just more or less, it was just auditory way of teaching. So he was asking, the very next day, all the students were asked to reproduce the same content along with lot of questions. So questioning was really encouraged in those times compared to today. We think that we are in a scientific or technological era, and we are more asking more questions compared to our ancestors. All the misunderstandings about our education system or ancient education system has come because of the twisted picture that the Macaulayan education has given us about our traditional education. So if we go back to our roots and start training students in terms of memorizing certain shlokas. So as I talked about music therapy, we also have certain shlokas which can probably increase the memory, certain cognitive capabilities, and it can also heal certain problems to certain extent. Again, you have to be very careful when you try to practice it. But there are a lot of shlokas which, when properly recited or chanted, or the japa is done properly, it can heal a lot of uh, uh, disorders, or even it can also be used for anxiety and stress. So, in the beginning, maybe around 5 years of age or 6 years of age, people used to teach lot of shlokas, including Vishnu Sahasranamam, Lalita Sahasranamam, so on and so forth, which gave lot of impetus to strengthening the auditory capabilities. So, if we try to revive that situation again, probably we will do better in terms of sculpting better or great generation. That is the posterity. Hope I answered your question.
Yes, sir. It was quite interesting. And to add up to the communication, we have Garuda Purana, which says the formation of body, and it a very significant way, which is correlating with the modern science, and that's very interesting. So similarly, probably there's a need for Indian knowledge system to be propagated and correlated with the modern system. You have rightly said that here auditory was our strength, and but of course, Western education is visual thing. So we need to focus more on auditory things so as to improve our educational system. And similarly, I've also seen one interesting thing. I met one entrepreneur who has used this voice-based system to detect the health, and it is coming up in as a startup and everything. So certainly the traditional knowledge can be translated into products and other things also, if we have a command over the knowledge. Very nicely explained. Thank you.
Yeah. In fact, going one step ahead, since you talked about technology, we can use technology in more and more advantageous ways to reclaim our past and also have a better lifestyle compared to what we are having today.
Chinmay,
Yes.
can you hear me?
Yeah. Please go ahead, sir.
Yeah. So I missed the first initial part of your presentation, but I have a few things regarding the ancient traditional knowledge, which is embedded in probably in our culture, and which has been carried forward. Probably this technology as trying to reinvent our knowledge.
Yes.
So the more the barrier, most important barrier, this knowledge could not be translated or could not be disseminated to the general public was the lack of the education, probably. So we system had. Probably what has happened is after during the British era, the knowledge system, basically the schooling system has opened enormously, and the more and more people were attracted towards the modern system of education. So the main barrier, so when this knowledge was translated, trying to translate it to the general public, what has happened, it has created a lot of myths and misconceptions acquired, and it's been spread and been misused by many people to take advantage of this. Okay. And this itself has created a lot of what you call as a myths and misconception has created a what you call the how we approach the disease model. Probably what we call is every individual has his own model of understanding in illness. Probably the way the place from where he comes, what we call as explanatory model.
Yes.
So it may be like a religious model he explains, or a scientific, the knowledge, scientific knowledge he explains. For each symptom you want to explain, you carry those words only which are relevant, which are being spoken in the community, probably in the community or in the that geographical area. Okay. So each area has a very specific ideas. So my question is that this how these barriers you are trying to take out these barriers and make this knowledge more public and accessible in a very simple ways the people can understand, because understanding slokas is not accessible to everyone.
Yes.
So if somebody wants to read sloka, probably not everybody can read it. So
Yeah.
it should be made available. This sloka should be made locally understandable vernacular languages, so that people know, okay, this is our proud, this is our knowledge, traditional knowledge, which we can easily access. So I think this is the main barrier. So just I want to have your inputs in this regard.
Yeah, definitely, sir. So, as I told a little time back, one thing is we need to have trustworthy translations of our ancient texts. It will take quite a while to understand the uh, uh, real gist of our ancient texts, because nowadays what has happened is most of the translations, they are like things are getting better, but problem is translations are not really trustworthy. It is just like saying Ramakrishna Paramahamsa as Ramakrishna the great swan. Just trying to literally translate Paramahamsa as great, Parama for great and Hamsa for swan. Right? So that is not the intended meaning. So first thing is this trustworthy translations have to come. That is one point. But if we look at our own ancestors, you take any language for that matter. It could be Marathi, it could be Kannada or Tamil or even Malayalam and including even Hindi, any language. They have tried to, as I told earlier, they have tried to cater to the needs of the hour. So they have come up with a lot of songs which have this healing power embedded in that. Okay? So, for example, if you take one of the things in Kannada, there is one thing known as Vijay Dasara Kavacha. So it says, Udaya Kaladi I Padava Patisalu Madadanadaru Jnana Udaya Vahudu. So this, if you try to translate it, it says that if someone reads this, if someone chants this song or padya or poem, he will become more knowledgeable by chanting this repetitively during the morning. So there are a lot of such things. Again, we have missed a lot of such songs. We have to revive it. So a lot of research as well as trustworthy translations are required to get to our roots. That's what I personally think. So there were other questions.
There is a traditionally belief system. So like we say it's the Dark syndrome, for example. This you lose your you lose your energy, life energy. That will be traditional misconception probably. So this is a thing like a disorder, illness, mental illness with from the misconceptions. These are more to do with the transfer of the traditional knowledge. Exactly, it has not occurred or supposed to be. So that has to be taken into account.
Yes, absolutely.
And
I think there were some questions on the chat. Unfortunately, since I am using it for the Webex for first
There's a question from BLDA college, sir. How can dharmic ethics help bridge the gap between high-tech institutions and grassroots communities during technology transfer?
How can can you repeat the question?
How can dharmic ethics help bridge the gap between high-tech institutions and grassroots communities during technology transfer?
Okay. So if you just take one generation back, so I myself feel that I am not so ethical or so moral in terms of my outlook to towards the society. I mean, it's like we don't care about how our actions affect others. So if you go back to our earlier generations, all these Puranas or it could be Ramayana or Mahabharata or any other thing, they have a lot of such stories where people are, if you go back to how it was transmitted, there usually used to be a Puranika, right? So one learned person would disseminate this knowledge to the entire community, irrespective of caste, creed, gender, right? So we see that a lot of our grandfathers or great grandfathers, they were not able to read or write, but their moral or ethical outlook towards society or their perspectives were really great. So this is because this way of talking about stories where you're actually asked to question things. So the Puranika was there. One might ask why. You can just disseminate using lot many copies, hard copies, right? Or nowadays you can use even the media, digital media. But as I told you, these have a lot of subtle points to make, which we call as dharma sukshmas. So when we are trying to face a problem, when we are facing a problem in real world, no one book can give you the right strategy, right? It all depends on that particular time, the context, the person who is trying to take an action against a particular situation. All these things come into picture. So instilling these things in the right way, dharmic ethics, can make that person or student more aware of the consequences of his actions. See, today we talk of a lot of green technology, so on and so forth, and many other things. But we see that it is not getting implemented, and every day, day by day, the number of crimes, the number of murders, or maybe people having anxiety or stress, it is just increasing in spite of all the so-called modern approaches. Why? Because a person is not led to think, or he is not tricked into thinking what is right and what is good. So I think that if we go back to this way of analyzing our texts, it could be Puranas or Itihasas, in a better conducive environment, probably people will start reflecting into themselves and their actions. And that is what is missing in the current education. It is all about external behavior. You have to have these skill sets to get into this company. And if you get into this company, you will get so much money. So that is the only motive behind doing anything. But no one is talking about what will happen maybe 10 years down the lane in terms of maybe economic stability or social stability or so on and so forth. So you need to have this ingrained into our education. That's what I feel.
There's one more question from Gaurav. Please elaborate on what do you mean by interconnection between the inner and external world, and how can we go in the direction of understanding the science in comprehensive way other than having the reductionist approach?
Take the example from Ayurveda. So in Ayurveda, a lot of reflexes are related to the bodily structure. So we try to classify different people in terms of prakritis. So basically it is consisting of both physical as well as psychological and also anatomical aspects into it. So when we want something like personalized, or when we want to take into account both the inner world and external world, we can do a lot of research in this direction. Like, for example, as I talked about that mind and matter related experiment with the double slit experiment, we can conduct a lot of such experiments. as to what is the effect a particular material is going to have on the mind. I'll give you a very realistic example. If you consider the plastic bottles that you are using, there has been a lot of research into how it is trying to reduce the fertility if you drink the water in the plastic bottles and so on and so forth. It can also cause cancer, maybe in a long run. And you also see there is a triangle figure at the bottom of the plastic bottles. So there's a number given there. So if you have thicker water bottles, plastic water bottles, that is going to cause less of this effect. So this thing is already there, but again, not properly experimented or statistically validated in Ayurveda. So this is called as Dravya Guna Vijnana or Padartha Vijnana in Ayurveda. Always our Shastras have given directions. Okay, so you can extend these approaches. It could be Prakriti-based approaches where we can classify people based on the different body types. It is also coming up in modern science also in terms of genomics. Okay, and there are a lot of omic studies that is coming up. So somewhere modern science is also like getting inclined to this unknowingly. But the only problem with that approach is if you don't take into account our traditional approach, it doesn't have, it will take a lot of time to get into that path, okay, where we try to see what is the relation between mind and matter. Okay, so we have also talked about, I mean, our Shastras also talk about what is a sattvic food. Like if you eat with a lot of tension in your mind, it will also cause a lot of tension in the coming days. Okay, it will cause a lot of unrest in the coming days. So how you eat the food, who prepares the food, how he prepares the food will all matter. So this is what I meant by there is a link between the psychological world as well as the physical world. Physical world, there is only one reality, but thinking in terms of psychology, every one of us have our own ways of perceiving, our own ways of understanding based on our nature and nurture, right? So that is what is causing multiplicity of psychological worlds. Now, these two things have to be compatible for sustainability or good health, social health. So that's what I meant by inner and external world. Hope that answers your question.
Do we have any more questions? So I think we can wind up the session then. Thank you so much, Chinmayananda sir, for that truly enriching and thought-provoking session. And thank you to all the participants for your time and engagement. If you'd like to stay updated on future sessions hosted by IIIT Dharwad Research Park, do follow our LinkedIn page and Instagram account, that is IIIT_DWD_ResPark.
Thank you.
Have a great, thank you.